That's really all I have. The only other thing that's constantly comes up in the paper that's kind of, we wanted to just make sure to see if there was any questions, is the testing that's happening now at every grade level in CMS. And just to kind of make you aware, starting in kindergarten now, there's something called formative testing, which is basically a fancy word of saying ongoing testing that is done each quarter in addition to all the other assessments your teachers are doing. And it is done by the system. And we last year had TAs go in and do this to try to speed the process up so it was not taking instructional time. But it does take time. So you'll see letters coming home as early as kindergarten. We're beginning to do some assessments. In kindergarten, it's done one-on-one. In first grade, it's done one-on-one. Once you get into second grade, it becomes individualized. But they will be taking those every quarter. And then at the end of the year, they have something called a summative, which is basically a whole comprehensive where we're at for the year. So just so you're aware of that, it does take time, it does take manpower, but we're working on those now. Second through fifth grade has already taken their first formatives. K1, we're working on our schedule right now of how we're going to attack it. So if you have a child in K1, it's coming down the pipe. But in kindergarten, it is one-on-one. They do use manipulatives. You know, it's age appropriate, but it does take time. Yes?
What are they doing with the results of these formatives?
Well,
I have a child in kindergarten, I'm thinking.
It's used for growth. It's used for how they're doing. You know, it looks at mastery. The other thing it could eventually be used for is if they ever go to a pay-for-performance program, which has kind of been stepped back by the system now since Dr. Gorman has left, but if they ever go down that route, they're honing this to be an opportunity to kind of gauge how X teacher is growing their kids. So as of right now, it has no bearing on that whatsoever, but it could eventually be part of that puzzle because in K2, there's no state test. So they have never had a way to kind of monitor how X teacher is doing on any particular standard. So that could be used for that eventually when they tweak it. We also don't know how the state tests are going to change because starting next year we go to a national curriculum. We're going to go to what's called the Common Core, where everybody's going to be basically doing the same things in regard to the standards starting next year. We're starting to implement them a little bit this year, but it really comes into play next year. So we're not sure how the state's going to change that. But even art, music, PE are being included, and they're working on how they're going to design basically portfolios for kids to show growth over time. So,
are they using it for possible retention of students?
I mean, obviously, the K2, not the art and science, right. I mean, not art and music, but yes, I mean, I guess it could be. I mean, it would be, to me, it's another data point. The way I look at it is the teachers collect all this data, and they do checklists on, kindergarten's easy, so we can say, okay, letter recognition. Does Jimmy know all of his letters? Okay, if he does, he's mastered that. Okay, then you go to the next thing. Does Jimmy know all of his sounds? All right, okay, that's fine. Does he know ending sounds? Because kids learn beginning sounds developmentally before they learn ending sounds. Okay, check. And then at the end of the year, you know, they take this other summative to kind of affirm all these other things that teachers seeing. So it's just really, to me, another data point. In and of itself, it's not going to stop a kid from being promoted or retained. Just like end of grade tests won't at this year. You know, there are some schools that say when they take an end of grade test in 3rd and 5th grade, because it's considered a gateway year, if you fail that test, you're retained. I don't necessarily go by that mantra. It is one thing we look at. Typically, it correlates with other stuff we're seeing in the classroom, so it's just another point that I use to see, is this good for this particular child? So it's never going to be, while I'm here, unless somebody tells me, the only thing we look at. I'm not saying that somebody won't tell me, but as of right now, it's not the way I do it. It's just not the way, because I just don't think one test can ever gauge a child.
You know, they started the formatives last year, or the summatives.
Yeah.
What are they going to do with those results?
Well, last year was just a field test,
okay.
So they really were looking at the questions.
So
you know, what was worthwhile, what was not, you know, because it takes between 2 and 3 years to really make a test valid. Because, you know, you're taking a bank of questions and you're really trying them, these age appropriate. Are they accurate? Are they edited correctly? And they've really used it last year to get feedback, and they've changed it for the, so they're making changes as you go. So no, the material from the seminars last year was not used for anything at all,
Okay.
other than to try to tweak the test.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And
What is this year?
this year should be more. I mean, we should get some sort of results this year.
Okay.
Yeah, because last year we got.
Still be tweaking.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
With the new playground, how is the whole recess process? Do only a certain group of kids, a number of kids get to go over to the new playground?
At certain days, they rotate.
So how is it that some grades can all intermix and play together? If one teacher will stay over in the new playground area and one will stay over in the football area, one will stay over on the laptop, but yet all of the grade gets to play and interact together as long as you don't exceed the number of students in the area that you're in.
I'm not aware of any grade level that does that, but to me, 2 or 3 classes go over to a certain area at a certain time. They can intermix when they're over there, but we're not. It just becomes easier for a teacher to monitor your own kids. If you know your 24 kids are over there, I know my 24 kids and who I'm looking for. That's easier than to say you have these random kids kind of over there. So that's why we do it. We just split them up into 2 or 3. You have some over here, some on the field, some on the blacktop, some on that playground.
If they're on the new playground, they're not on blacktop.
No.
Right, you can't cross.
No.
Right, yeah, I knew that.
Yeah, so that's just, I don't know, there's really, I don't have a solid response to that.
Well,
It's
I don't know if I ever brought up the idea of how we did it in California, where because you have the bell system and you can use it, that on the lines where the bus parks, you number the lines, and then when the bell rings, all the students know what line they should go to, and that's where the teacher picks them up from. So that way, all the kids can interact and play with everybody. So like my kid, all of her group of friends are not in her current block or class that she's with, but she wants to go and play with those ones that she was with last year. She's not allowed to because she's limited. But with the bell system
Right.
or something like that, would allow all the kids to interact and play together, in their grade level, obviously.
Right.
But then the bell rings, and then they all go to the line, and that's where their teacher picks them up from.
Okay, I'll look at that. Yeah, I mean, if they're on the same apparatus, like for instance, if the kindergartner and there's 3 classes out on the little playground over here, they can absolutely integrate with each other. But there also may be 3 classes on the football field or 3 classes over here. So those kids, he wouldn't be the way we have it designed because the classroom teacher's with their class. In 3-5, Ms. Kabuko's thing could work in 3-5. K2, I would not feel as comfortable with it because that is your group of kids. So those are the only 22 kids you have, and those would be the ones you would be most aware of. You would know everything about them. I would just hate to have them spread out everywhere and then somebody end up lost.
Is there a way just to rotate through different classes that they play with each week?
Now that's possible.
That would be good too.
That could work.
And
I think
instead
that
of
would be
staying
better
with the
than
same 3
trying to
classes.
do
Yeah, that could work.
I had 2 things before we wrap up. One, on like a positive note, I just wanted to share that at the school, I like how the administration always makes his parents feel welcome to come in. I've never had a teacher that I felt like didn't want me walking into the classroom or helping my child with something. And it just really hit me because over the summer I visited a family member in their school, and she's like, oh, they don't like the parents to come in at all. They don't like the parents to walk in the classroom. And so I just wanted to share that I think the school is amazing about making all the parents feel welcome. And the other problem that I'm having this year is, so my daughter's been here since kindergarten, and now she's in 5th grade. And when I pick her up from her after-school program, she doesn't have her homework done anymore because she's getting there so much later. So she lost an hour due to the school year bell changing. And then, of course, the buses, maybe add on another 20 minutes. So we're really struggling with homework time this year. And I was just wondering if you could, maybe the next staff meeting, just remind me of that, because I don't feel like her homework load has decreased any. Even
Yeah.
though she's here an extra hour.
And I can speak for myself. I mean, I feel it too.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is something that's come up across the school, even as low as 1st and 2nd grade. Parents concerned about not having any time for the child to be able to do anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, we can definitely look at that. I think that's something reasonable.
Are we locked into this time change?
Yeah.
Dark from here on out?
I mean, well, until they decide to make the next bell change. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's not anything, yeah. Basically, questions about specials. This year we have, because of, again, our size, we've had to really mess with our special area schedule. So this year we actually have a media assistant that we gained that's going into classrooms at certain times and reading to students is one of our specials, is just as enjoying literature. We have, in third grade especially, because they have 10 teachers, to allow for planning every single day, we have 3 assistants that basically almost every day have a group. And I told them to basically rotate different activities. They could be reading to the class, it could be another physical activity time. We're just trying to make it a fun activity, something that they have a hobby that they want to share with the kids. And then on top of that, we have to rotate A week, B week, and things like that. But if you ever want to look at our special schedule, I mean, I'll be happy for you to look at it. It is a monster in regard to how we meet the needs, because we only have, just so everybody understands, we have 1 full-time art, music, and PE teacher at our school. You don't get another one until you get over 1,200. We have a half that we share with another school. So they're only here at certain times. So we have to coordinate our calendar to make sure that we're able to, schedule them classes when they're here. So Miss Chapman in music, Miss Oliver in PE, and Miss Pound in art are only here part of the week, and it's not all the same time. So that is why.
But last year they had art every week.
They only had 7 teachers, not 10. Yeah, and they didn't have planning every day. We have planning every day now.
How many classes do we have this year?
Off the top of my head, I don't know, but I can tell you individually. We have 9 in kindergarten, 9 in first grade. We have 8 in second grade, 10 in third grade, 7 in fourth grade, and 6 in fifth. One of the biggest concerns we had was teachers saying we just don't have enough time to get to what we want to. This was the ability to allow us to add time to all of our subject areas to instruction and meet the needs of our kids.
Was 9/11 that just happened?
Yes.
Is that being educated with this?
Your child should have heard something about it on Monday. In fact, it was the first year that I was really enforcing the fact that we need, well actually this whole year, one of the goals for social studies this year, being a social studies teacher, is I want more authentic current event kind of learning. Now in K2 that's sticky because you're going to show planes blowing up buildings. No, we didn't want to do that. So in K2 the focus really was on heroes. So they kind of looked at, this was the event that occurred, this created this is a natural disaster or a disaster. Who helped in this disaster? And they started talking about first responders and firemen, and they actually, and in first and second for sure, they wrote letters to the Cornelius Police Department and the firefighters, and they're going to send them out. So they were trying to be, obviously not scare the kids. In 3-5 they should have also been in discussion. I was in 1/3 classroom, Miss Sanders' room. She had a PowerPoint that she was showing and had different facts, and they were kind of all sitting on the floor talking about what they knew. To me, it's more of a lot of the information the kids have is completely out there kind of stuff, and they don't, I mean, it's totally inaccurate. So I think it's good. It's a good opportunity to kind of set the record, not give your opinion, but set the record of these are the facts that have happened. Yeah, but we didn't. It should have been done in every single class.
Okay,
should have been. Yeah. Then, the one thing I think about as I was visiting classes, because I was in 3rd grade, 1/3 grade, and multiple first and second. But the one thing that I thought about as I walked out is because they were so concerned about sharing too much, the focus really wasn't on 9/11 too much. So you may ask a first grader, what do you know about 9/11, and they may not be able to run off a list of facts to you. But like if you kind of broach it from the idea of who were the heroes of that tragedy, I hope that they will be able to address that in first grade, because that was really their focal point. Social studies can be the coolest subject in the world. I'm not a bias or anything, but it can if you make it that way. Now, you still have to teach what happened before, but we still need to make kids aware of what's going on now. Now, it's going to look different in every grade level because, obviously, The first grader may not be able to know what's going on in Afghanistan, but you know, you can still talk to them about, one, the geographical locations of places, you know, pull it up and look at it, talk about it, you know, the issues we're dealing with as a country. I think all those things can still be broached and make kids aware. And I think that makes, and then you write about it. You know, I'm reading a book right now called Focus by Mike Schmoker, and it really talks about going back to the basics and really tying in more authentic writing, getting kids to write more about what they're doing. So if you can write about a math problem and how you solve it, you can definitely answer a multiple choice question on it. So we're trying to implement more writing into what's going on in the classroom, and that's something that's kind of been pushed to the side. You know, kids being able to express themselves that way, learn how to write argumentative papers and to be able to use opinion and things like that. So that's going to be something that'll be new this year that should be creeping into what you see coming home. Anything else before we go? Yes?
I have one question. What are your expectations for your teachers in terms of turning around a grade in general?
It should be within 10 days.
Okay.
Yeah, again, it should be within 10 days. I know in 3rd and 4th grade, we've run into issues with NCYs, so you may not be able to see any grades on there in 3rd and 4th grade because of the way I did our schedule and the complexity of it. There's some things that it's never seen before, so we're trying to figure out how to make it work. So in 3rd and 4th grade, if you have questions about grades, talk to your teacher because you may not see it on Parent Assist. 5th grade is still reasonably enough in size that they should be up, but 10 days should be a reasonable amount of time. And then also you should be getting information coming home in the Friday folder in regard to grades. Yeah, the 3rd and 4th could be a little bit of an issue for a while.
So after 10 days, the grades will be up on Parent Assist?
Should be. And oftentimes prior to that. Yeah. All right, well, thank you guys for coming. I hope you guys keep coming every week.